Welcome to The Source, where we combine the headlines with in-depth conversations with the newsmakers themselves. I'm Pinky Webb. Today on the program, a new group is pushing for the tandem of Vice President Leni Robredo and Davao City Mayor Sara Duterte. Presidential candidates want to use the unpaid 203 billion peso estate taxes of the Marcoses for cash subsidy amid the crisis. And oil companies implement a major fuel price rollback for the first time in 12 weeks. Vice President Leni Robredo, spokesperson Atty. Gutierrez, and Piston President Modi Floranda join us live. Three incumbent government officials announced their push for an all-women Rosa tandem for 2022, launched in Cagayan de Oro on Monday. The group says it is endorsing Leni Robredo for president and Sara Duterte for vice president. Organizers of the Rosa 2022 movement are confident that Robredo and Duterte could work together as a team, and their being women and mothers would spell the difference in their governance. Let's go straight to the source of the story. We have Vice President Leni Robredo, spokesperson Atty. Gutierrez. Atty. Gutierrez, welcome back to the source. Again, thank you for your time.
Good morning, Pinky, and happy to be here.
Okay. Were you at all told, nagpaalam ho ba sa inyo, sina Congressman Joey Salceda, Mayor Beng Climaco, and Congressman Rufus Rodriguez about Rosa?
Well, it's not as if they asked permission. They were informed shortly before they made the announcement that they would be holding a public event to actually declare their support for this tandem. So it was more an FYI more than anything else.
Hindi pa alam. Just letting you know.
Yes.
And what is the reaction of the Vice President?
Well, we're still very thankful for their support for her, obviously. They were among the first incumbent public officials to actually declare their support for VP Leni, and she will always be grateful for that. But her position on this matter has been very, very clear from the start. Her running mate, ang kanyang katandem ay si Senator Kiko Pangilinan, and she will be pushing for his election as Vice President. She will not be campaigning for any other candidate. But, that said, it's the reality of Philippine politics and our electoral system that we do not vote for a president and a vice president in tandem. So there will always be people who will choose a different configuration. But insofar as the Vice President herself is concerned and her campaign is concerned, our Vice Presidential bet is Senator Kiko, and that will never change.
So do you think that Vice President Leni Robredo and Mayor Sara can actually work together? Have you given this any thought on what they could possibly, or how they could possibly complement each other?
Well, the Vice President has also been very clear. Regardless of who is elected, and of course right now we are doing everything in our power to ensure that will be Senator Kiko Pangilinan, who takes his oath as Vice President come June 30 of this year. But regardless of who gets elected, she will be willing to work with the person who the people choose as the Vice President. She's made it very clear. She has had first-hand experience with being a vice president who is an outsider looking in, someone who has been excluded from the day-to-day workings of government because of the political configurations. And definitely that's not something she wants to happen to the next vice president.
Yeah, she said that in a couple of interviews, I believe also in my interview. But I want to go back to my question. Is there anything you see between the two women that they could actually complement each other if they win?
I think that given their record of service in government, they might have different styles, But at the end of the day, both of them have proven that they have what it takes to actually perform as effective public servants. So, I don't think there will be a problem. Being vice president, after all, to a large extent, means being able to find a niche where you can be most effective. And definitely, the vice president has been very open to the idea that whoever gets elected vice president, if it's Mayor Sara, then it's Mayor Sara, she will work with her to find a niche where she will be most effective in contributing her own talents and her own experiences to government.
Well, isn't it ironic, though, that you have Robredo running as an independent, but obviously a strong voice of the opposition, very critical of some of the programs of President Rodrigo Duterte, Sara's father. How do you actually reconcile this?
Well, she has been very, very clear again. In times where she felt that it was important to be the contrary or the dissenting voice on a particular issue, she has spoken out. But in times when it has been possible to actually cooperate and to find common ground, then she has also been willing to do that. And in talking about specific policies of the current administration, she has followed that particular guidepost. So she has been critical, for example, on certain aspects of COVID response. She has been critical with respect to certain aspects of the implementation of the drug war. But she has also expressed her support for things like Build, the infrastructure program, or with respect to the malasakit centers, the emphasis on providing health care down to the barangay level. So that's been her approach. So I don't think it's really going to be a problem. It's always going to be possible to find common ground. It's always going to be possible to work on issues that you have agreements on, to the benefit of the people in general.
What do you think of this? Because there's Rosa, which is basically Robredo and Sara, and then there's Isko and Sara as well. At the end of the day, when you actually look at it, it seems that it's Mayor Sara, who is, by the way, still #1 in the Pulse Asia surveys, who will end up benefiting on both counts, whether it is Isko Sara, because it's still Sara, or Rosa, because it's still Sara, and then there's BBM and Sara.
Well, if you only look at the particular tandems being pushed where she is vice president, then yes. But, I have also seen configurations where other vice presidential candidates are matched with other presidential candidates. And as I said, that's, typical in a system like ours where the president and the vice president are not elected in tandem. There will always be people, there will always be groups, there will always be endorsers who will choose a different configuration for whatever reason. Personal ties to one or more of the candidates, personal preference or whatnot. But that's something we've always had, and I don't think it's particularly unusual for this election.
While, of course, the president and the vice president that will be chosen will be the will of the people, would you say the vice president, in case she wins, would be comfortable? And we already stated the fact that she still and will always be endorsing Kiko Pangilinan, but would she be comfortable with Sara Duterte as her vice president, again, if she wins?
Well, again, she would obviously prefer that she be working with the vice presidential bet of her choice, and that is really Senator Kiko. But she's had a very, very realistic attitude towards elections and public service in the past. After all, in 2016, she was elected as vice president, and the person elected as president was not her presidential bet of choice. Again, it was a mixed slate that got elected in 2016. So she's used to this. And at the end of the day, when you're there, both of you were elected, both of you have a mandate. She's very clear. We will do what it takes. So if it means working with somebody who's not your first choice, then we'll find a way. It's not really a question of personal comfort. It's not a question of personal preference. It's a question of what needs to be done at that point. And if there's anything that the VP has proven in the last 6 years, she will always do what needs to be done in order to provide the best service for the Filipino people.
And she will work with whoever is elected as vice president if she is elected as president.
Definitely.
Okay.
Sabi nga niya, di ba? Parang ayoko mangyari sa akin, yung doon sa susunod sa akin, yung
Nangyari sa kanya.
yung nangyari sa kanya.
Apo. Okay, but we need to take a very short break. This is The Source on CNN Philippines. Please stay tuned. And you're watching The Source on CNN Philippines. Our source today, Vice President Leni Robredo, spokesperson Atty. Gutierrez. Attorney, just wanted to ask you, so, a number of politicians supporting Vice President Leni Robredo, as mentioned a while ago, with Rosa, that was launched by Congressman Rufus Rodriguez, Joey Salceda, and Mayor Beng Climaco. Are there any other politicians who will express their support for the Vice President?
Well, we do expect that there will be other leaders at the local level who will come out in the next few weeks to declare support for her. So, it's just a matter of time for them to actually publicly declare their support. But definitely that's coming.
Okay, but is there anyone, because I know that you said they are local leaders, anybody na medyo, pasensya na sa tanong, pero matunog ang pangalan or nakakagulat na, it will surprise people that this person is actually going to support the Vice President?
Well,
even without
there are a
naming
lot
this
of
person.
conversations going on. I'm not really at liberty to preempt anything that might happen in the next few weeks. But definitely, I will say there might be some big developments happening in the last 7 weeks of this campaign.
The last 7 weeks of the campaign, but how soon?
Well, as I said, these are ongoing conversations, so we'll see.
Is a presidential candidate backing out? Is that a hint of some sort that possibly a presidential candidate may back out?
Well, again, I don't want to preempt anyone. You know how Philippine elections and Philippine politics are. There's always room for major developments happening in the course of the campaign. So I guess we'll just have to, see in the last 7 weeks what's going to happen.
Okay. I just want to go quickly to Pasig Laban. Vice President Robredo personally slammed fake news na nagkabayaran ulit. But just going back to that, that's the biggest rally so far for the Vice President at about, 130,000? Would my numbers be accurate?
I think the number released most recently by the PNP was 140. But yes, thereabouts.
So, biggest rally po yan so far?
Yes, so far.
And how are you seeing, because even on social media, if you look into social media, parang nagpapagalingan po yung mga nagsusupport kay Vice President Leni Robredo. Kung parang dapat mula doon sa huling rally, yung susunod, mas hihigit pa doon sa previous rally.
Well, yeah. Tawag nga nila the Olympics, di ba? And I think that to a certain extent, there's become a sort of a game of one-upmanship among different areas and different groups. Because the thing with the rallies that have happened everywhere from Bacolod to Iloilo to Cavite and all these other places is that normally it is the local volunteer group that takes the lead in organizing. So, each volunteer group wants to be the one to say that we held the biggest rally. So that's really what's happening now. And to a large extent, I think that's reflective of the energy and the enthusiasm of the campaign. It's not just a pro forma thing where people will go just to be seen, just to comply, but it's really a situation where they are excited, they are eager, they are fully invested in this campaign. We saw that.
I want to go a little light on this, no? Because even if we show the video and even on social media, lumalabas ho kasi yung mga placards na very witty. Ano po?
Yeah.
Well, just wondering if the Vice President has had any reaction on these placards. Yung iba, Leni, open-minded ka ba? Yung, if I'm not mistaken, something like yung 18 hours gawin nating 6 years. Meron pang isa na Pulse Asia, andito na, where na you, andito na kami. How does she react? Does she see these placards, or has she made mention of anything na natutuwa siya, kung ano yung naging paborito niya?
Well, I don't know if she has a favorite, but definitely she sees all these placards. In fact, in some of the rallies she has attended, she has made it up to read some of them before she actually gives a speech. Hindi nga lang nagawa dito sa Pasig. But that's something that she actually started when these big rallies started happening, reading the placards. And definitely, the VP is has a voracious appetite for social media. So she sees all these things.
Okay.
She's actually very grateful and actually amused by a lot of them. As you said, they're witty. But and she thinks it's reflective of the energy and creativity of the People's Campaign.
So the Vice President also slammed a Facebook user for claiming that her supporters were paid to attend Pasig Laban. She even said na abonado pa ang karamihan sa kanila. Wag natin yurakan ang kanilang dignidad. Just a reaction on that, sir.
Because this is really something that has been the constant refrain of some of the detractors, trying to minimize the impact and the significance of these rallies by saying bayad. But time and again, we have seen the people who attend these rallies. We have heard the organizers speak. If you go to any of them, you will see the intensity of the excitement. Hindi napipilitan to mga taon to. Hindi to hako talagang kusang nagpunta. And the VP has already spoken on this before. Nakaka-insulto na parang tinatawaran mo yung commitment ng mga taong iba. Sila pa nga ang gumastos para makapunta dito. Sila ang gumastos for the paraphernalia na gagamitin. Tapos sasabihin mo na bayad. I think that's what is most offensive to her. That the energy of the People's Campaign is being downplayed this way.
Just to bring this in, though, that is not isolated to the campaign or the rallies for Vice President Leni Robredo. Kahit po doon sa BBM, Sara Duterte rally, meron din po mga nagsasalita and are chanting, hindi kami bayad. Ganun din po no? So parehong there are allegations or statements made in reference to both rallies, kasi parang paramihan po kayo ng paramihan kung sino mag-attend. Just a very quick last question, sir. Some analysts can say that the Vice President has the vote of the A, B, maybe the C, but really lacks with the C, D, and E. What is the plan? Is this something that you need to work on, and how?
Well, to begin with, I don't think it's completely, if you look at the survey, it's accurate to say that she's weaker in D and E compared to ABC. The numbers will show that, by and large, she's polling more or less the same. Actually, she's doing better in E than in most other classes. So the challenge is really how to translate the energy of these rallies, how to get her message across, not specifically to D and E, although I suppose the emphasis will be there simply because they are more. But, across classes, we need to be making sure that our message is getting across, that people are being encouraged to join and support VP Leni. And, we have 7 weeks to do so.
All right. Vice President Leni Robredo, spokesperson, Attorney Barry Gutierrez. Sir, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Pinky. Always happy to be here.
And we'll be taking a short break. This is The Source on CNN Philippines. Please stay tuned.